Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing well. It's been a couple of weeks since you have seen me. So yeah, I've been busy. So last week I had the week off work because it was the week of my birthday. So I have turned 39 now. I had a really lovely day with my mum and dad. We went out to have lunch at a favourite restaurant of mine. And we just, looked around town and then came home for cake and presents and such. And it was just a really lovely day, and I had a nice relaxing week off. I wasn't well for a couple of days of them because we got hit with a heat wave on my birthday. My birthday was the first day of 3 days of this heat wave, and at the exact same time my cycle decided to kick in. Yay, thank you for that. So yeah, I wasn't very well during the heat wave last week, so that's why I didn't do much reading last week, so I had no review to give you. And then this week, obviously, I've been back at work and going back to the swing of things, and now we've got our second heat wave in a week. Yay! So I'm filming this like at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be uploading it right away, so then it's done, it's out of the way, and I don't have to do this later when it's going to get very hot. So yeah, because we're meant to hit 28C today and Tuesday, and tomorrow it's going to be 33C. And yeah, so I've got lots of ice in my freezer. I've got a big fan in my living room that I can use and just try and get through work as best I can being in my house. But yeah, it is what it is, but it's annoying. I don't like the heat. But yeah, I've had, it was a good week off, just catching up on things and just having a break and like doing some more sewing, and part of my present from mum and dad was a Lego gift card, and so I got the Lord of the Rings Shire set, which I absolutely love. So I had a good week off, and now that I've had a week back in work and back into the swing of things and everything, I'm in a good place. But yes, I've been reading lately, and I'm here to talk about When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit by Judith Kerr. This is the 50th anniversary edition that came out, I think it was like 3-4 years ago. And I got this because I just fancied reading like a classic children's book that I just haven't read before. And there was a whole table of them in Waterstones. They had like Railway Children, Secret Garden, etc. And I'm like, yeah, read that. So, and then they had When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit. So I picked it up and I bought it, and now I have finally read it. So in case you don't know who Judith Kerr is, she was a children's author. She passed away, I think it was a few years ago now, and she wrote the very famous book, The Tiger Who Came for Tea. She also wrote the Mog books. So if you know any of those, there's quite a few of those. She wrote them as well. She was a very well respected children's author. But she, in like the 1950s and such, she was not the 50s, sorry. Wrong decade, 70s. She was thinking about her childhood, and even though she'd written and published children's books, she hadn't done a novel, and she decided that she wanted to write the story of her childhood, something to give to her children and such. And she found it very difficult to write, as she explains at the end of the book. We've got notes from the author. And there she is, there's Judith, and it goes on for like several pages, and she explains things about why she wrote the book and such, and things from her childhood. And she makes it very explicitly clear that if it wasn't for a few very distinct things which would seem like minor incidental things in someone's life and someone's childhood, if those things hadn't happened, then, or the choices that she made as a child didn't happen, she would have been sent to a concentration camp and she wouldn't be here. and it's that adult reflection on the fragility of life and such that made her want to write this book. And I really love and respect her for doing that. Now, the story of When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit is autobiographical, but there are some things, there are little things that have changed. So the main girl here is called Anna instead of Judith. She has a brother who is called Max, and her parents, they live in Berlin and such. So lots of things are true to her life. She's just tweaked like names or something like that. So it's a very interesting story. So Anna, Max and her parents are living in Berlin in the 1930s, and her dad, Anna's dad, is very, very well-known author. He is very anti the Nazi Party, and at this time, because there was no like television, radio and newspaper articles and books and such were the entertainment, so that when her dad would go on the radio and such, millions of people were listening. So his voice was quite a powerful one. And one day he flees to Switzerland, leaving Anna, Max and Mama, their mother, behind. And then a little while later, Mama explains, right, Papa's had to go to Switzerland. We have to go follow him. We're going to have to leave this country. You cannot tell anyone what we are doing, but we have to get out of here now. And of course, Anna and Max, who are like 9 and I think 12, I think Max is a few years older than Anna. This is really jarring. It's startling. It's something that they haven't anticipated. And we follow them fleeing Germany to Switzerland, then on to France, and at the end of the book they are going to be going to England, where Judith lived for several decades of her life. And I didn't know until I got to the end of the book that this is actually book 1 of 3. So this adventure continues on through 2 more books I didn't even know existed. So this follows the children through that journey, well, mainly following Anna, because obviously Anna is Judith, and telling all of the adventures, all the stories, all the adjustments to life throughout that time. Reading this as an adult, because obviously this is a children's novel, I really love the techniques that Judith did in this book, where she keeps the language simple, obviously, for her readers, but at the same time, she has this underlying current within it. So there is a really, really interesting moment where Anna, Max and Mama are on the train that is going from Germany to Switzerland, and right as they get to the Swiss border, the train stops, and of course they start checking passports because they have to make sure everyone is okay to cross the border. And Mama's like, okay, do not say a single word to the guards that are going to come check our passports. You will not, under any circumstances, say a word. And it's this tension-filled moment where this guy comes up to them and checks their passports, and he looks at them and kind of takes a step away, and he stops and he goes back and he looks at their passports again, and it's so tense, and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And there's this woman that's sitting across from them with this basket on her lap with these weird noises come out. Of course, Anna is just completely drawn to this, and it's a cat, and it just, the tension just breaks after this man walks away and the cat is revealed, and the kids just love the cat and are playing with the cat, and it's just like, oh my God, you feel like you can breathe again. And there are other moments throughout this book where you have similar things. A character who I did not expect to really grow to love so much, and it broke me what happened to them, was Uncle Julius. So Uncle Julius is someone who kind of comes in and out the story. He's a zoologist, and Anna just absolutely loves him. He always has stories to tell of animals. They used to go to the zoo a lot together, and he'll just like turn up in the country that they are in. And Papa keeps saying, "Oh my God, you've got to be so careful. If they know that you're talking to us, that you're going to get killed. You can't go back to Germany. It's not safe for you. It's not safe." And Jesus is like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. The animals need me. The zoo needs me. I need my animals. I'll be fine." And what happened? Oh God, it broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart. What happened to Julius? It's just, and I love the frankness that Judith wrote about what happened. And for other things that happened, she is very kind of a bit black and white and blunt about it. But it's important that children understand the world, understand that there are things out of your control, and understand that there are bad things that happen. And the fact that Judith called it When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit, I think that's wonderful, because it sets the tone and lets you know exactly what this is about straight away. The reason why it's called that is because the day after the German elections, so they fled. So just to get perspective, so Papa fled weeks before the election. Mama, Max and Anna fled the day before the elections, and then the day after the elections, the Nazis turned up at their house to get their passports and basically take them away, but they'd already fled, they were gone. And so they stripped the house of everything. And Anna realised that she left behind Pink Rabbit, which was her first gift given to her as a baby. And she's had it obviously her whole life, and she decided to leave it behind because she wanted a newer Teddy to take with her, thinking that they were only going to be gone for a very short period of time, not realizing that she would never see Pink Rabbit again. And she has this thought of Hitler in his rooms or whatever, going through Papa's books and holding Pink Rabbit. And obviously it's a symbol for innocence and childhood and such, and how that is in his hands. I absolutely love that symbolism and such, and it's a powerful bit of writing, I have to say. Even though it is written simply because of the target audience, I love the fact that we see a family having to adapt and deal with very general things, but also deal with some absolutely massive things in their lives. So, for example, you have things like, somebody, there's a whole situation with a sewing machine that's not working. Now, how do we get shoes? How do we deal with mending clothing, that kind of thing? Versus how do we flee for our lives? How do we deal with having our children at such young ages having to go to school when they don't understand the language, having to teach them new cultures and such, and then pick up their lives and take them away again, not having any kind of stability, not knowing when money is next coming in, anything like that. You can really feel the tension between the adults and the things that they have to process and deal with throughout the course of this book. But what I love most of all is that right at the center of it is love. No matter what, there is pure love and joy in this family. And they always find a good thing amongst the bad, you know. It's just like, say for example, when the children they move to France, they can't speak French, and they're like, oh gosh, what do we do? So they managed to get a dictionary so that they can take it to the shops and they go through, and Anna and Max go to a shop and are asking for crayons, asking for, you know, pencils and such, and they are so proud of themselves that although it was a little bit you know, there was a bit of stumbles and such throughout this conversation with this shop owner, who you know, he was a lovely guy in the end. They managed to ask for pencils and get what they needed and paid for it with some money that they had, and go to that shop and get home and do all that, and they are so proud of themselves for having done that. And it's those little things, and I love the fact that she included them in the book. I found it so heartwarming and yet tragic and honest and fun and quite well, I was going to say disturbing, but it's not disturbing. It's just there are things that just come out of nowhere. There is this underlying cloud of tension. It reminded me kind of, if I'm honest, I'm going to say it, of the Railway Children, that you have this underlying thing of what's going on with Mother, why does she do what she does, what is going on, and about what's going on with Papa, and such. You have that, but there is the childhood adjusting and such that goes on in life on top of that, as you also see in the Railway Children. You know, it reminded me very much of those kind of stories where I think it is that it's important for children to learn stories where things go wrong, where things are completely out of your control, that there is darkness around. So that's why I really love films and such from my childhood, like, you know, All Dogs Go to Heaven, The Land Before Time, you know, all those various films where usually the child ends up being orphaned or abandoned, or, you know, some way alone. Is about how they get themselves where they get themselves, because it's important to know that those dark things exist. And so I really respect Judith for writing this book to teach children about the evils of the Second World War from the perspective of German Jewish family who were fleeing for their lives. I think it's so well constructed to teach lessons, but also tell the truth of things and be able to explain things to a child about the true darkness and evils that can exist in the world. So overall, I really love and respect Judith so much for writing this. I love the cover. I love Papa and Anna, and obviously we've got Paris skyline and everything here. I'd quite like to look up Judith's father, see if I can find some more information about him and such, and know what happened to him, because all I know is obviously what is written in this book, and it only covers 1933, the tail end of 1933 to the beginning of 1935. So, but yeah, I found it really charming, beautifully constructed. The characters are all wonderful. Oh, sorry, alerts just come up on my oh, my screen. There we go. Right, go away. There, sorry. It just completely filled my screen. I couldn't see you. It's Yeah, full of wonderful characters. It's utterly charming. It's brutal at times. There's such an underlying tension with the adults. It's wonderful to see how Anna and Max adapted to their environment, and to see the wonders of the world through their eyes. Like I said, that whole passport moment where it's like, oh my god, are they going to realize who they are they going to send them back to Germany, are they going to be caught, and the tension is broken by a cat. I love that. I absolutely love that. There's something so exquisite about this book, and I can't put my finger exactly on what it is, but I think it's the way that Judith reflects on things, because she was, as an adult, writing about her life, and she found it very difficult to write this book. I can understand. I think I can kind of feel that kind of struggle that perhaps she had in writing this. But what is so wonderful is that, as she wrote in the notes by the author section, that if she hadn't made those choices when she was a little kid, literally open the door and say a certain thing to someone who was stood behind a door, she'd be dead now. And that's startling to think that. I think she wrote an exquisite book, which is just beautiful. And I'd really like to get hold of the second and third book, actually, and continue on reading the story. So, yeah, I definitely recommend and read this again. It feels a bit like lightning in a bottle. Like, obviously, I have read other books that have told the Second World War through the eyes of a child, but they've gone to different ends of the scale and different parts of the war, different locations, etc. So there's more of a brutalness to that. Whereas this, yes, you have obviously the brutality, the news that trickles through and everything. But at the same time, this is about life and life adjustment. And I feel like this has had more powerful effect than one of those other books, such as The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I mean, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, it's a good story, it's a good book, but at the same time, I'm just a bit like, well, about it. There's something that doesn't quite sit right with me with that book. But this, I feel like, has got far more power than that book. And there's something, like I said, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something. Maybe it's the family unit. Oh, I just realised I knocked my table. Maybe it's the family unit. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. But there is something so exquisitely charming about this book that just makes me feel like this tells me more about the realities of living through this situation than something like The Boy in Striped Pajamas. So there we go. So I think this, if someone was to read a book about the Second World War through the eyes of a child in Germany, I'd say give When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit a go, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. So there we go. These are my thoughts on When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit by Judith Kerr. So my usual questions: would I read this again? Yes, definitely yes. And I'd like to get hold of the second and third book if possible, and read the rest of Anna and Max's adventures. Would I recommend this to anyone? Yes, I definitely would. I think it's got an important story to tell. And I agree. Michael Mapergo is quoted here saying, the most life-enhancing book you could ever wish to read. And it really, really is. It's absolutely beautiful. Would I read any of Judith Kerr's other books? Well, as I said, I'd like to get hold of the second and third one, but I don't know, with all of her other books are kind of like more, short books for children. Like I said, The Tiger Who Came to Tea and the Mog books and everything. So I don't know about her other novels. As I said, I didn't even know there were 2 books after this until I got to the end of the book, and it said, by the way, if you want to. So the second one is called Bombs on Aunt Dainty. And then the third one is called A Small Person Far Away. But yeah, I don't know if there are any other novels, as it were, that Judith wrote, but I'd have to look into that. But yeah, an absolute joy to read, a gem of a book, like lightning in a bottle. Is beautifully put together, and I just loved it. I loved it. So my thoughts on When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit by Judith Kerr. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments box. So give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, time to get decide. And I'll be back with my next read, which is the Victorian Chaise Lounge by Margita Lasky. And as you can see, it's a short book, so I will definitely be back next weekend with my thoughts on that. And let's see how I do in this heat wave over the next couple of days. Oh, yay, that's going to be fun. But yeah, I will see you then. Bye.